Welcome to Workforce Central, the official podcast of the National Association of Workforce Boards. Stay tuned as we explore the latest resources, thoughts, and trends in workforce development. And now, here's your host, Ron Painter.
Welcome to a special episode of Workforce Central, the official podcast of the National Association of Workforce Boards. I'm your host, Ron Painter, and Doug Foresta, as always, is at the controls. You're going to notice through the broadcast today that it is obviously spring, because you're going to hear that nasal quality that says it is allergy season. So I apologize to that. We just wanted to take a little time to reflect on some episodes from the previous year, and it's really kind of amazing to me that we've done 24 episodes over the last year, and there were some real themes that emerged in the conversations, and certainly we're going to welcome your feedback and what you'd like to hear in the coming year. We're going to share some clips as we go through this on the episodes mentioned. And if you've not listened to that entire episode and you want to hear more about it, go out to iTunes, look at the podcast, search for Workforce, and we are there. Or you can pick it up via our website at nawb.org. Not surprisingly, one of the themes that emerged was the importance of helping youth employment. The Innovation and Opportunity Act, the INO really focuses on, in particular, out-of-school youth. 75% of the money for the INO has to be committed to out-of-school youth. So there is really I think a great opportunity for boards to help re-engage young people. A couple of the people who joined us this year on that subject, Maureen Conway from the Aspen Institute, joined us to share lessons learned from their study about youth and employment. And let's listen to this clip.
So if you're an employer and you're trying to understand, why is it that you think that this young workforce is not too reliable, to understand, well, what is the transportation infrastructure in your community, and is it working to connect people to work? And is it working to connect people to work when you need them to be at work? So I think that certainly is something that companies could think about, and think about whether they could problem solve around. The other thing there was a lot of comments around this in the survey as well, is just, are the supervisors prepared to work with the younger population? Are they prepared to manage youth and younger adults and communicate and provide feedback in a way that helps them understand their role in the workplace, understand why certain things are or are not the way to behave in work, and sort of just making sure that the frontline supervisors are really well prepared to manage and mentor younger workers and help them really contribute what they can in the workplace. I think those are some of the key elements to think about that are kind of across the board elements.
In September, Dr. Paul Harrington of Drexel University joined us to discuss youth employment trends and what they tell us about it, as he sees it, what they tell us about the economy in general. So let's listen a moment to the conversation with Paul.
What I like to look at is, I do like to look at the jobs numbers. I like to look at the employment to population ratio, and I look at two employment numbers. One is the number of employed persons from the household survey, and the other is the number of jobs created from the payroll survey. And they sometimes tell, conflicting stories. Because of different sampling methods, different data methods. So the establishment survey goes to a sample of business establishments above a certain size. Below that size level, they actually use a regression model to estimate the employment developments there. So you can imagine how that works. And it's kind of, I guess it's the best we could do, but is it any good is a whole other question, right? And so what happens is, and that's why at the end of the year, we benchmark it to a complete count of data. It comes from the unemployment insurance wage records. And those revisions at the state and federal level can be quite large. So we think we know something in January, and then we find out the following March, well, it's really different.
Jennifer Mizrahi joined us to discuss the importance of helping youth with disabilities find employment and shared work that's called Project Search. Really amazing project around healthcare initiatives. And I think, Jennifer reminded us that a clear focus of the I&O is on access to not only employment and training, but the labor market in general. Let's listen to a couple minutes of the conversation with Jennifer.
Let's imagine that you have a young person with Down syndrome or autism who has a significant intellectual disability. Maybe it's because they were poor and they have lead paint poisoning, for example, when they were a kid. So maybe their IQ is only 70 or 80 or 90, and they're not going to get that high school diploma that we know would help them a lot. Legally, they can stay in school, as I said, until they're 21, which is usually what happens. If instead they enter a program called Project Search now exists in 43 states. And what they do in that Project Search is that 1 hour a day, they're doing career building. They're doing that, discovery process. They're learning about resumes. They're even actively looking for a job. But essentially, it's their last year of school. They're working at an actual employer in an unpaid internship. But they're treated as if they're an actual employee. They're doing real work. So it might be they spend 3 months doing house cleaning in a hotel or a hospital or a nursing home, or they're in the kitchen. They're doing, food prep, or they're washing dishes, or they're doing another kind of job, doing groundskeeping. They have an opportunity to be exposed to a number of different kinds of jobs. The employer has no obligation to hire them at the end of this apprenticeship program. They have them there for the school year. But what we're seeing is that 70% of these individuals, these are kids with very low IQs in many, many instances, people who everyone said will never amount to anything. They're getting great jobs. They're getting benefits. They're getting vacation time. They're getting health care. 70% of the young people going into this program, 70% are getting jobs, paid, competitive, integrated employment, making at or above minimum wage. It's fabulous. And it's the experience of the apprenticeship and the internship that is giving them the opportunity to really see what it is that they want to do.
One of the other themes that not only emerges from the I&O, but emerged from our conversation was Lori Moran from the Danville Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce joined us to share her insights about the importance of partnerships on that local level. So let's listen to this clip from the conversation with Lori.
Sometimes in the past, we've been very quick to respond to individual employers, as we should, but we don't step back and realize how we can have a greater impact by growing those sectors. And we do that work in partnership with our economic development organizations so that we really are, as regions, being strategic in how we create jobs and then able to provide the workforce for those jobs. In any collaborative process, the first thing I tell anybody is the hardest work you will ever do.
It is.
It is. So anybody who goes into it with the false illusion that collaboration is easy and fun, it's not. I mean, it can be, but it's hard work. And it requires everybody to come to the table and bring what they have, the strengths and resources they have to the table. But we also have to recognize that everybody at the table needs to walk away with a gain as well.
Really underscoring the need for creative partnerships was Rachel Gregg from USDA, who joined us to discuss SNAP. Lots of the workforce boards across the U.S. work not only with TANF, but work with SNAP. And so Rachel joined us to talk about how SNAP can maybe fill in some of the gaps and how it can partner to create a more robust workforce development system and create better outcomes. So let's listen to a piece of that clip with Rachel.
We have an Office of Employment and Training in the Food and Nutrition Service at USDA, and we oversee and manage the SNAP Employment and Training Program, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a training program for people who are receiving SNAP benefits. It's actually a very flexible, robust program and can provide a lot of different services, including paying for tuition or the cost of instruction for occupational training, adult basic education, English as a second language services, other forms of post-secondary education, really any kind of education and training component that is designed to help a SNAP recipient move towards employment and ultimately economic self-sufficiency. Beyond that, though, there are other kinds of services that E&T can also support. So we can help cover a lot of the administrative costs associated with providing employment and training services to individuals. So if an organization is serving our clients and they bring new staff on to help provide those services, we can help cover those costs. We can help cover the costs of things like case management and career navigation or student success coaches.
And in this theme, Bob Lanter, my colleague and friend from the California Workforce Association, joined us to discuss the importance of breaking down the silos in the workforce system and talked about some really amazing stuff going on in California and about the amount of financial support that the state of California is providing workforce development there. So let's listen to this piece from Bob.
Our governor, Governor Brown, has realized that we have this income inequality issue, as many states in our nation do. And he also realized that if the budget is structured correctly, we could invest some, as you said, serious investment in making a dent at this. And so initially, the legislature in California started out by, deepening their investment in career tech education and the community college system. The chancellor's office at our community college system developed this Office of Workforce and Economic Development, and they funded that pretty deeply. And one of the things that they've been able to do is organize, again, regionally, because that's the way you chunk up a state this size. And so they've organized their community college campuses in regions, and then those regions have hired and assigned industry sector navigators. The initiative is affectionately called Doing What Matters for Jobs in the Economy. And so these industry sector navigators are pairing up with local workforce development boards, economic development and industry, to really ensure that the community colleges' career tech education programs are relevant, are up to date, are producing graduates that industry needs. And so that funding occurred. Just recently this year in the budget cycle, another $200 million investment in career tech education is going out to the community colleges. And this time it's really focused on curriculum portability. So if you've got a process technology training course in the Bay Area, and down in Bakersfield, where they have a lot of oil fields, they need process technology training because there's a shortage there. The curriculum can easily be transferred from schools in the Bay Area down to schools in the Bakersfield area. And right now, that's a barrier for us, the portability of curriculum.
So the final, I guess, bucket that occurred to Doug and Yunori and I as we were thinking about this year was the challenging theme or the challenge of the human cost of constant innovation and disruption. We hear a lot about the whole notion about disruptive companies and disruptive technology and disruptive processes. Well, in what to me was a fascinating episode about the future of work, Dr. Jerry Paytas from a company called The Fourth Economy talked to us about some of the trends that would affect the U.S. workforce. So let's listen to that piece of the episode with Dr. Paytas.
Some of these others, pale in some ways, but they're also more connected to, more directly connected to changes in the labor market. So one is 3D printing, which has the potential to fundamentally disrupt a lot of supply chains and reorder production systems. So if you're familiar with, typical manufacturing, you take your material and you cut it, bend it, shape it, get rid of all that waste, and you make your products. 3D printing now combines the design, the manufacture, and recycling of material kind of all into one. And you're able to make new designs, new shapes, new products that couldn't be made before. But it potentially cuts out large elements of the supply chain and blurs that distinction between design and production.
Fascinating. And as we think about what's coming up in the coming year, I'll give people a tease and say, tune in, because Jerry's going to be back with us. We're going to be doing an episode as the NAWB summer board meeting is in Pittsburgh. We'll catch up with Jerry. Barbara Dyer from the Hitachi Foundation joined us for a special 2-part episode about the work the Hitachi Foundation is doing to tackle the issue of disruption and those who are left behind by all of this, by all of the goings on in the labor market. So let's listen to this piece from Barbara.
We have a culture now that basically expects on demand, everything on demand, and on demand is possible in all sorts of ways. Workforce boards are kind of caught between the 20th and the 21st century, and are challenged to modernize, and because workforce boards are in the world of government, in a sense. Government is by its nature very slow to change and not usually leading, usually lagging the change. So that's, I think, the challenge for workforce boards, is to figure out what your a network across this country. It's a great infrastructure upon which to build a 21st century system. But I think the challenge is that if you don't, somebody else will, and a lot of it is happening already.
And in March for Forum 2016, Kathleen McLaughlin, CEO of the Walmart Foundation, joined us live from the forum to discuss how Walmart is helping stabilize and strengthen the systems that they rely upon for their human capital. So let's take a moment to listen to my conversation with Kathleen.
So what we are aspiring to do is change the workforce development landscape in the retail sector more broadly. So the company is focused on our own associates and improving wages, upskilling, scheduling practices, etc. While through the foundation and also Walmart, we're trying to invest together, working with other employers, education providers, government agencies, technology companies, to change career pathways in retail and into adjacent sectors, to improve pre-employment training, to improve career advancement, so that we have a broader system, a broader talent pool of people who can come into retail and get a good start, but then earn while they learn and move up to better positions over time. That's going to help our company. It's going to help other retailers. It will serve customers better, and it will certainly, improve the lives of millions of job seekers and incumbent workers.
Thanks for taking a couple minutes for us to reflect back on the year that has passed. I'd love it. I think Doug would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and we'd really like your feedback as a listener. What topics do you want us to cover? What did you hear that you would like to have us dig deeper into? What do you want to know about? You can email Workforce Central at info@nawb.org. Again, that's info@nawb.org. And let us know what's on your mind, and maybe something that we haven't touched on that you think is really important that we haven't. Just a reminder that Workforce Central is a podcast of the National Association of Workforce Boards from Washington, D.C. Workforce Central is copyrighted by NAWB Incorporated. which reserves all rights to the broadcast. Any comments or suggestions can be sent, again, to info@nawb.org. I'm Ron Painter. Thanks for having listened to us over those 24 episodes, and I hope you join us again very soon. Thank you.